Well, you guys have been asking for more backyard trail builds, so today I'm going to be building another drop. The original one was, well, sketchy. The planks were different lengths, but only 1 foot wide on average. I almost fell off the side multiple times, and it was not the best feature. Since we also didn't add any real bracing, the drop wobbled, and you could feel it riding up. The old drop was a bike crusher too. It wasn't any fun because the impact hurt badly. This new drop should be a lot smaller, wider, and more sturdy. We have a few more tools now, so this should be a bit easier. Let's get started. So the first step is to get all of our wood down to the trail, just like we did before. What we're working with is 4 2x6s as the beams, and then we're going to use a bunch of 2x4s as platforms for the top of the drop. We also ended up taking the roll off the boner log and using extra wood for this drop. We also had some extra wood that we were using, like the offcuts of the 4x4s from the original drop. So far, we have a lot of wood, and it's going to come in handy today. Last time, we didn't really position our wood right, so this time we're making sure to use the heavier duty wood for the stronger jobs. These 2x6s were already cut to our desired length, so we didn't have to cut them. On the other hand, the 2x4s needed to be cut, so let's do that now. The first step is to measure these into equal pieces. Since we have 6 2x4s, we're going to make each one 2 feet wide, meaning that we can get 30 slats. After spanning the wood with a tape measure, we can mark a line at 2, 4, 6, and 8 feet. Now, we can cut along these marks. After the first 2x4 is cut, we can use one of the planks to measure out the remaining boards. This is much more efficient than the first way, as it's more consistent and takes less time. Now that all the boards are cut equally, we can get them down to the park, but we're going to use the wagon again, so we need to go the long way. We also have a saw and drill, so this is probably a bad idea, but let's try it anyway. Well, that seemed to work. Now that all of the wood cutting is complete, let's clear out the worksite. This entire area needs to be cleared out because we don't want plants to grow through the drop, and we also need a walk-up trail to the side. Alright, so now we can get to the juicy stuff, which is building the wooden drop itself. Right now, we're actually using this tree that we cut part of the top off as a support. Since this has an underlying root system, it's very stable, and it's actually a better option than digging in a post. After trimming the tree to size, we can start digging our other posts. Just like last time, we have to make sure that we dig our holes very deep because we're not using concrete mix. Unlike last time though, we're going to be adding side braces, so even if we don't dig it as deep, it's still going to be way more stable. Right now, I'm hammering in the 4x4 just so that it stays level temporarily, and then we can fill the hole with dirt. The dirt we have to pack every few inches just so that we can ensure maximum stability. Another advantage that we have over the original drop is the type of dirt that we're using to fill in the holes. This time, we're using clay, which is possibly the strongest type of dirt. Though clay is the best for packing, we're building this drop over a source pit, so we have to make sure that the entire hill doesn't collapse. For this, we're going to add a side brace, but that's for later on. Now that we've filled the entire hole with dirt, we can start putting the second beam on. The only difference with this is that we're attaching it to the post rather than the tree. You may be wondering why I'm using screws instead of bolts. Bolts are way stronger, but we don't have them right now, so we'll get them later and then put them on. Now that these two beams are on, we can install the side braces. Side braces never get their support from just resting in the ground, so we're using the tamping iron to dig in stakes. This is actually really effective because its heavy flat surface makes quick work of this project. After attaching the stake and the side brace to each other, we can start on the other side. For this, we're just cutting an angle in the 2x6 and then routing it into the source pit. This one is much longer, so the beam has to be longer as well. Now that all the structure is up, we're going to add planks to this section and call it for this day. Unlike last time, we're using bigger spacing between the planks. This won't really affect anything, it's just going to take less wood. We're using 2 planks upright, which is 4 inches. Now, we can dig the holes for the other 2 posts and put on the final 2 beams. I want this drop to feel like a mix of the HLC drop and Big Bad Wolf at Doothy, because you're going to be going slow off it, but it's going to be wide and smooth. After attaching both of the beams at one pivot point, we can adjust the angle and adjust the size of the drop too. We're using the extra 4x4s that we had as offcuts to support the bottom of this drop, and they're turning out to be very stable. Now, we can add the side braces in the same way that we did before. We had one extra 4x4, so we cut it at an angle and then put it against the ground. Now, we can bury the stake using the tamping iron method. The last step of building this entire drop is to put planks on this end. So that the drop feels consistent, we're going to use the same 4-inch spacing between the planks, and it worked out very well. Now, the drop is finally done, but we need to do one more thing. Let's get started on a run-up. We can save the landing for later. For the run-in, I want to add some dirt between the drop and the ground just so that you get a smoother ride. I also want to make the hillside flat by adding dirt because you can't really bench cut this. I'm mining a little of the extra dirt off the step-up's landing because it's unnecessary. Now that the run-in was done, there's only one thing left to do for now, and that's send it. Without a landing right now, it was a little sketchy, but I did it anyway. Think I had the speed for this?
Nah, probably start further up and pedal into the uphill.
Do you think I should pedal on this part, or do you think I should just roll?
I think you should just roll.
Pedal up this and just kind of glide off?
Yep. Okay.
Well, there's no landing right now, so if I land flat, whatever, it's okay. I'm gonna try with a hair more speed this time.
Alright.
Well, this drop actually works very well, and it doesn't even have a landing yet. The size, width, and sturdiness is perfect, exactly how I wanted it. This is one of my favorite features, and it adds a lot to this line. It's super fun to have 3 jumps in a drop, and it makes for an amazing time sessioning this trail. This feature turned out exactly like a mix of the HLC and Big Bad Wolf drops at Doothy Hill. It feels as wide, as smooth, and as stable as Big Bad Wolf, but you don't go nearly as fast. That's where HLC comes in. The whole trail is running better than it ever has, and we ended up making some minor changes to fully perfect it. The wide plank spacing also doesn't make an impact, and it feels just as smooth as it should be. If we were to do one thing differently, I would have liked to shift the drop a little uphill so the risk of collapsing wasn't as much. Besides that, I can't believe how well this turned out, and I'm super stoked. Next week, I'll show you my new fork, so be sure to vote on what you think it is in the community tab. That's it for today's video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week.